Okay, before we get into the video of how to build a website with Elementor, I want to make a small disclaimer here. None of the websites we build for our clients are built in Elementor, and that's for a couple of reasons. If you're watching this video and you're going to be building your website this way, hopefully it's because you are a brand new business or a hobbyist and you have very little to no budget for a website. If that's the case, this is a perfect software for you, at least for now. The downsides of Elementor are that you don't actually own your website because it's built inside someone else's software. If they decide to start charging for some of the features you're using, or if they go out of business, or if there's a technical issue, those things directly impact you. It is inherently slower because of the size of Elementor, and it's a one-size-fits-all solution, which will negatively impact your SEO. You don't have as much access to the code, which impacts your SEO. There are design limitations, function limitations. So all of those things are the reasons that we don't use it on a regular basis. But again, if you are a small business or a hobbyist and you really don't have any budget for a website, this is going to be a good fit. If you have any other questions or would like to find out more about this, please feel free to give us a call or send us an email. Okay, without further ado, let's go ahead and watch the build video. Okay, welcome everyone. This is going to be a walkthrough video of how to build a simple website using Elementor. We're actually going to be building this website today. This is something I put together in a few minutes before I started recording. We don't build websites in Elementor traditionally for our clients, but this is more of a do-it-yourself type of thing. So if you're not a developer, if you're a new developer, this is going to be something that's a little more straightforward and easy to handle. Due to the sheer size of this video, you are going to be doing it live with me, so there may be some mistakes as I'm talking, but I will try to go as slow as possible and make this as clean as possible so that there's not too much backtracking. So where we're at right here is this is a new WordPress install. If you don't even have this done yet, check out a video we have about how to start your website and install WordPress. But once you're here and you actually have your WordPress installed, the first thing you're going to need to do is to log into the back end to get access to your dashboard. Now, once you've logged into the back end of the website, enter in my password here. Once you've logged into the back end of the website, first thing is to create multiple tabs. You're going to need to be switching back and forth between multiple tabs. Pretty much every single browser does this the same way. So copy your URL. Then you want to hit this plus button up here to add new tabs. I suggest having about 5. And then go ahead and paste in the URL of the page you're on and hitting enter on each one. So again, that's just copying this URL, creating new tabs with this plus button, and then opening them up. So you've got about 5 tabs here. So the very first thing to do is you need to install a new theme. If you're going to be using Elementor, you want to use the Elementor theme. Theme is very much the backbone of your website. So what you'll do is you'll go down to where it says Appearance here on the left-hand side menu. This is your WordPress dashboard menu. Go to Appearance and then scroll over to Themes. Once you're here, you'll see you already have a few themes. This is normal, but we're going to be adding a new one. So to do that, go up to Add New. And then it's going to show you the theme library. So what you're looking for is Elementor, which is the third one in, really easy to find. Once you found it, click Install, and then Activate. Okay. Now once you've done that, next thing you're going to want to do is add what are called plugins. These are very much like apps on a phone. You're going to need a couple of these even on a basic website. So hover over the plugins menu and then click Add New. We're going to add these just a couple at a time and then activate them all at once. So the first one that we're going to add is Updraft. This is a simple backup plugin used to keep your website from disappearing or breaking down. I suggest this on every website I build. If you have GoDaddy as a host, this may not be an option. If you do have GoDaddy, you can contact us. We can walk you through a different way to back up your site, but any other host should allow you to use this. So once you find Updraft Plus WordPress Backup plugin, click Install. And what you'll see here is it says Activate, but you don't want to click that yet. Next one you'll want to install is the Elementor Page Builder. Alright, so you see Elementor Website Builder, so click Install on that one. Next thing you'll want is a child theme builder. I use Orbisius. So by typing in Orbisius, it'll pop up Child Theme Creator by Orbisius. Click Install. This is also important to the long-term stability of your website. Next one we're going to install is Yoast SEO. It's a good all-in-one SEO plugin. So here it is, Yoast SEO. Click Install on that one. Next one, we're going to install WP Forms. It's right here, Contact Form by WP Forms. Click Install on that one. All right, next one we're going to do is WordFence Security. Okay. And last but not least, we're going to install what's called Smart Slider. All right, Smart Slider 3 right here. Now all of the icons and titles will have to match exactly, otherwise you could be getting the wrong plugin. It's very much like apps. There are some that are kind of copycat plugins. So if you need to pause and go a little slower, that's fine, but do make sure you're installing the exact same plugins as the ones I did. So once you've installed those, I jumped ahead there a little bit. Once you've installed those, and we did the last one there, what you want to do is go back over to plugins and click Installed Plugins. And what you'll see is you've got a bunch of these that are white background. That means not activated. You can ignore these two. These are SiteGround plugins. These are my host provides these. You may or may not have these. If you do have SiteGround, you'll want to deactivate their security and delete it. If you don't have them, you can skip that step. So once you're looking at these plugins, if you went through that step with me, the next thing we're going to do is do a bulk action. So to do that, go next to where it says plugin and check the box. It's going to check all of these here. And then at the top, there's a bulk actions drop down. Click that and select activate, then hit apply. What that will do is turn all of them on at the same time. This can take a second because there are a few of them. Okay, and you'll probably get something like this. WordFence is asking me to register. You'll want to make sure to do that. This is going to be your security plugin. I'm going to just kind of skip through this. Don't use a fake email like I did. You will want access to those emails. I'm just doing it for the sake of expediency. So once you've registered your WordFence, you can go ahead and Updraft. We'll also be talking about its settings. You can click off of that. And so now you've got all your plugins done. And now that they're all active, I'll walk you through setting up the plugins. There are a few that we'll set up later. I'll go through the ones we're going to set up before we start. First one we're going to set up is the Updraft plugin. You're going to do that by coming up here to where it says Updraft, clicking on Backup and Restore. Now once you're here, you want to click on the tab that says Settings. Now you want to change where it says File Backup Schedule from Manual to Monthly. You can leave the number of backups it will retain at 2. And the database backup schedule, make sure this is also on manual and stays that way. And this one can also stay at 2. And then down below, you want to make sure that all four of these boxes are checked: plugins, themes, uploads, and then directories. Once you have all four of those checked, make sure these are set up properly. Come down and click Save Changes. Okay, and we're done here. The next one that we're going to go ahead and set up is the child theme using Orbisius. So the way to do that is to go over to where it says Appearance, and then click on Orbisius Child Theme Creator. And then what you'll see is it brings you back into your theme library. The one that you're going to be creating a child theme of is the Elementor theme, since that's the one that is active and that we'll be using. So you'll hover over it, and the first thing you'll want to check is the box that says Switch Theme to the new theme after it's created. And then the last one here that says Customize Title. When you click on that one, it's going to open up some areas to fill out. The only one you want to change here is the title itself. You can go ahead and just title it Child of Elementor. Creating a child theme is kind of like making a photocopy of an important document. That way, when the developers of Elementor update their theme, it doesn't change your site. You don't lose anything. So you'll want to make sure that you've set up the child theme, change the name, make sure to check all those boxes. If you've done it correctly, what you'll see is a duplicate here. One will be titled Hello Elementor. That's the previous one that was active. And then you'll see one that says Child of Elementor. And that one will have a blue Customize button because that's the one that you've currently activated. So if it looks like this when you're done, you've set it up properly. The next one that we're going to go ahead and set up is the Yoast plugin. So to do that, go down to where it says Yoast SEO. Click on General. Now go up to the tabs here and click First Time Configuration. This is going to be a walkthrough of how to set it up. So go ahead and read through these. Hit Continue when you're done. It's going to ask you whether you're an organization or a person, name of the business, input your logo. Make sure this is all set up correctly. Then hit Save and Continue. Okay, the next one is social profiles. So if you have a Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anything like that for the business, or if it's a blog for the blog, as long as the social profiles are related to this website, you'll want to link them here. Don't link personal ones that are unrelated. You can see obviously Facebook and Twitter are the defaults, but if you have an Instagram or a YouTube, all you need to do is click Add Another Profile, and then you can put in the other ones here. So once you've put in all your social profiles you want linked to the site, hit Save and Continue. And if you don't have any created yet, and you're going to do that later, don't worry, you can always add these at a later date. So once you hit Save and Continue here, it's going to bring you to Personal Preferences. It's asking if they can track your data to improve their plugin. Whether or not you let them do that is up to you. It's asking if you want the newsletter, also up to you. Once you've got this filled out, hit Save and Continue. And then it's going to ask you if you want to register. Also, totally up to you whether or not you want to register, but now the general setup of that is done. And that is it for the plugins we're setting up for now. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create the pages you need for the website. So the first thing you're going to do is go up to Pages here, and then click on Add New. Okay, and what you'll see here, this is what's called Gutenberg Builder. You're not going to be using this to build the site, but you will use this to create the pages initially. So the only thing you're doing is adding a title and publishing at the moment. So create the pages you think you need. You can always add or remove pages later, but in order to style your menu, it's good to create them first. So I'm going to create 4 basic pages that most websites here use. So as you can see, I put in the name and then I click Publish up top. So then I'll go back up here to View Pages, go to Add New again. I'll add another standard one. Okay, named it, go up to Publish, confirm it. Again, just titling it, and that's it. Go back to Pages, add another one. Publish and confirm. Now once this one is published, we'll go back to the pages again. Okay, so what you'll see now is home, services, contact, sample, and privacy. Every website needs a privacy policy. I'm not going to go through that portion on this example though. Typically what we'll do is delete these two pages at the beginning and then recreate the privacy policy later. So the way to trash two pages at once is very similar to activating the plugins. It's a bulk action. So select the two pages by checking the box next to them. Go to bulk actions, move to trash, apply. Now what you'll see is just the three pages you created. So the next thing to do now that you've created those pages is to create the menu. So the way to do that is to go over to Appearance, go to Menus, and then in here it's going to ask you to name your menu. I always just call this Main Menu. Okay, and then what you want to do is hit Create in the bottom right corner. All right, and then what you'll see is there's a few columns here, most recent, view all, search. Right now we can use most recent and select the pages we want. In future, when you create pages, it may not show all your pages on this tab. It may only show them here. So just keep that in mind, but for the moment, you can just use where it says most recent, select the three, and then hit add to menu. And what you'll see here is it added them in the reverse order we want them in. So top to bottom is actually left to right on your menu. So we want home to be the first one. So to do that, all you need to do is click and drag. Okay, this is now the order they're going to read in left to right. Now pay attention when you're dragging these. You can actually indent this. If you see here, this is indented. This now makes this a child of this page, which means it's a drop down on the menu. So just make sure they're all at the correct indentation so that they're all parent pages. So once you have this in the order you want, go ahead and save your menu. All right, now what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to the front end of the website to see what that looks like. So go up to My WordPress and visit site. Okay, and now this is what you're seeing here. So the first thing you'll want to do is click the Customize button. Okay, and now that you're here, what we're going to do is assign the menu to the top of the page that you created. So the first thing you're going to do is go down to Menus, Main Menu, and then right here you'll see your three different pages in your menu. Go down to Menu Location and select Header. And then you'll want to click the Publish button, and you'll see now that your menu is showing in the top right corner. Now once that's published, you want to click this back arrow 2 different times. Now we're going to go into Site Identity. Now there's a couple things here. The first one is your site logo, your site title, your tagline, and your favicon. So the first one you want to set is your logo. I've already created a default logo for this website that I'm going to be able to upload fairly easily. You may need to get one created. Our company does logo design, or if you do it from the outside. But once you have that, you can go ahead and upload that. You'll need that to be a PNG format to make sure there's no background. So we're going to go ahead and select a logo for the site. When you click select a logo, it's going to bring you to your media library on the website. This is where your website stores all the photos that you upload. Currently, there are no photos uploaded to the site, so you'll need to actually upload them now. So what you'll see is select files. So I'm going to go ahead and upload all of the photos we're going to need for this build now, so I don't have to come back to here. But obviously, you can do these as needed. So for the moment, I'm going to upload everything. So once they're all uploaded, I highly suggest as you upload photos to add the alternative text to them. What you'll see is when you click on photos here, information becomes available on the right-hand side. You have alt text, title, caption, description, and compression level. The only one that matters for this purpose is alternative text. This is important for your SEO. Really what you want to do is just name the photo for what it is. These are people hiking, so you would name it people hiking. I'm not going to do this in this example because it's time consuming, but for your SEO, if you are building your own website, pause this video here, and as you're adding your photos, make sure to put alternative text. If it's your logo, title it our logo. So it's pretty straightforward. So once you've uploaded the logo that you want to use for the top of your site, which is right here for us, go ahead and select it by clicking on it so you get the blue checkbox, then clicking select. What you'll see is it's asking to crop the photo, so you want to make sure to stretch this out to include the entire logo. Once that's been selected, you'll see that it shows over here on the left-hand side under logo. It also shows up twice on the page. This is your header logo, this is your footer logo. So that's done. Next thing is site title. Site title should always be the name of your business. For our business, site title would be True Social Marketing. Our tagline is Be Social, Be Seen. If you don't have a tagline, just leave it blank, but make sure site title is the name of your business. And then down here is your favicon, which is what a lot of people call a tab logo you see in the top of your tab. Most of the time, you can use the same logo for your primary and for your favicon, but just use one piece of it. So I'll show you an example of that. If I hit select site icon, I'll use the same logo. I'll select it, but here it only gives me a small box to work with, and it previews it over here on the right-hand side. So I'll just line that up to be even, or as even as I can get it. Okay, and that's now going to be my tab logo. So you can go ahead and crop that. Now what you'll see is it's now showing up here in the tab as well. You want to use something pretty simple. If it's overcomplicated or there's a bunch of words in it, it'll be very smushed. So typically you want to use some type of an icon like that. So now we've updated all this information, so we want to publish again. Next thing we'll do is hit the back button. And this is where you're going to upload the additional CSS that was included. Below this video, there is a document that you can download. It's a Word document, and inside there is code that we have pre-written. It's very basic. You'll want to copy that and then paste it in. So go ahead and open up that Word document. It should look like this. And what you're going to be copying is the code from top to bottom. So go ahead and copy all of that. And then what you're going to do is click on where it says additional CSS. And down here, click next to this one and then paste it in. Once you've pasted it in, go ahead and hit publish again. That makes a few changes. It sizes some things up, removes some titles that are in the way. But once it's pasted in, all those changes are permanent. So once that's done, hit the back button. Now you've got your menu up here in the top right. You've got your logo in your header and your footer, as well as your tagline, and you're now ready to begin building your page. So to start building the page, what you're going to go ahead and do is go to the second tab here on the right. Go to Pages, All Pages. And then you hover over Home here. You want to go ahead and click Edit. Now once you click Edit, you'll see in the top here it says Edit with Elementor. That's the next thing you'll want to click. Okay. Now Elementor is a lot like building a PowerPoint presentation if you've ever used that software. It is very, very simple and straightforward once you learn it. It was meant to be used by people who are not developers and don't know how to read and write programming languages. So once you get the hang of this first page, the rest of the site should be pretty straightforward. It also auto optimizes the site. So typically, when you build the page in a full-size width like this for a computer screen, when you move it to a phone, it will usually automatically make it the correct size and shape for a phone as well. Okay, so before we actually start to build the page, I'm going to give you a basic walkthrough on how Elementor works. So Elementor is a one-size-fits-all drag and drop builder that functions on a grid pattern. So it's very much like building with Legos. You're building blocks within blocks, starting from the top down, or you can start with the bottom up, but that's less common. So we're going to be building from the top down, and the way that we're going to do that is to add sections one at a time. So the first thing you'll do is you'll see this dotted or dashed box here with a red plus and a gray file. You're going to be working with the red plus on all of these, and that is the Add New Section button. So when you click on that, it asks you to select your structure. What this is asking is how many columns you would like in this section. So there's an option of one column. So if you want one line of text or one photo, and then there's 2, 3, 4. There's also variations on that based on different widths. So once you have decided how many pieces of content you want, that's how you'll select your structure. So let's say you want to put a photo on the left and text on the right, that would be 2. If you're going to list 4 products in a row, that would be 4. You get the general idea. So once you select the type of structure you want, it's going to create this new box with a blue outline and this blue tab. This is where you can start to add content. There are a few options on this tab. There's the X to delete it, the 6 dots, which is to edit the section. You can edit things like width of the section, gap, things of that nature. And then there's this plus to add a section, add another section inside of it. But once you've selected the amount of columns, the next thing you want to click is this gray plus sign. What this is doing is this allows you to now add some content into there. And the content is on this left side menu. It appears when you click that gray plus sign. And it breaks down into 3 basic sections. The first one is basic. The next one is pro. And the last one here is general. So the pro section is going to be only for those who have paid for the pro version. However, if you do have the budget to be paying for Pro Elementor, I suggest you just build the traditional website due to the drawbacks of Elementor. So we can go ahead and close that one out. The 2 that we're going to deal with are basic and general. So I'll go through these individually. The first one here is called intersection. This allows you to break a column into 2 columns. So let's say you've selected, like we have here, a single column layout, but now you want to break it into 2. This allows you to do that. I'll show you an example of that here. So now you see that there are 2. More traditionally, what this is used for is to, when you already have two or more columns selected, to break one of those columns down further. I'll kind of show you an example of that. So if I've got a dual column set up, and let's say I want to add 2 buttons on this left-hand side. Currently it's a single column, so if I was to add them, they would stack on top of each other. And if I wanted to do them left to right, what I would need to do is to add this intersection here. And you'll see that that now creates that ability. So that's what intersection does. The next one is heading, which you'll see here. So headings are meant for titles, things like the name of your business, key phrases. That's what you want to use this for. Now it also is going to make them inherently larger when you use them. The text will be larger out of the gate. So you see that here, this is large text. When you click on this, the actual text itself, it'll give you the option to change it, add a link to it, change the color, font style, all of that's available here. So the next one is image. That's pretty straightforward. Drag and drop that here. It'll give you a default image, which when you click on will bring up this menu, and then you can click here to select the actual image you want in that place. The next one is text editor. This is just basic text. So any type of copy on the website. I'll show you what that looks like here. Okay. Next one is video. Same thing as image. It'll give you a blank space to add a video. Next one is a button. I'll go into that in more detail as we build, but that allows you to add a clickable button for things like making a phone call, sending an email, text message, going to a new page, all of those things. The next one is divider. This will actually put a border and a little bit of space in. So as you can see, when I drop that in, it creates a little bit of space, and then this black border here. This is to separate sections, or it's used for styling. Next one here is spacer, very similar to divider minus the border itself. So this is to create space between 2 sections as well, but there's no border here to separate them. It's just white space, which you can change the height of right here. Next one is Google Maps. This will put in a Google Maps section, and then you can put in the address you want it to link to. Next one is an icon. So icons are a little different than images. For instance, this in my logo here, this little fox, that's an icon. A little telephone icon on a button, that would also be an icon. An example of that is Here on our primary website, you'll see in all the buttons we use, there are these little icons. There's a phone icon here. There's a little chat icon here. That would be an icon. So the next one here is WP Forms. So that connects to the plugin that we downloaded that allows you to actually add a form to the website. And I'll show you how to use that as we build. There are quite a few under general. Most of these we will not be using. Some of them are actually a little silly. Things like the star rating. You can do that with an image. But there are a couple that we'll actually use during the build. The ones that I think are important to actually know about are the things like shortcode. So if you're going to be using shortcode, this allows you to put in a section that accepts that shortcode and applies it. Next one that I think is important is the HTML. This is for raw programming language. More than likely you will not be using this at any point during your build, but it is something that is used quite often, so it's important to know that it's there. This allows you to input your own code into the website. So I'll give you an example of that. So as you can see, I put some code in here, but the only thing you see is the actual words I wrote. Okay, so that is a basic walkthrough on how Elementor works. You'll see more of that as we build. And again, if you get stuck at any point, you always have the option to call and ask any questions you may need. All right, let's get into the build. So the first thing we're going to build is a hero section. You'll see these on a lot of websites. It's a large photo with typically some copy and a button on it. So to do that, we're going to use the shortcode content that I showed you earlier. So to do that, we're going to click the red plus to create the first content section. We're going to select a single column, because that's all we're going to need. Click the gray plus to add the content itself. Scroll down to shortcode, which you'll see here. And you'll drag and drop these. You know that you're in the correct section before you drop it by this blue bar showing up in the box. So drop that down. We now have an area to put in some shortcode. Now we're going to create that shortcode using the Smart Slider plugin that we downloaded earlier. So now we're going to create this shortcode. So to do that, go to your tab next to this here. Go down to, we need to refresh this page. So what you'll notice is on the left-hand side here, you're not seeing all of the same menu items as we were seeing before, and that's because this is an older page before we downloaded those plugins. So go ahead and refresh your page. Okay, now you can see here that there's Smart Slider, which is what we're looking for. So click on Dashboard. And then once you open that up, there's going to be a welcome video. You can skip over that and go to Dashboard, green button down here. And then you're going to click on New Project. Now it's going to ask you if you want to use a template or just create a new project. All these are, in reality, these are all templates, so just go to Create a New Project. Then it's going to ask whether you want a slider or a block. Now for this purpose, we're going to be using a block. Either one of these is available to you. Slider is a little bit more of a slick item you can use. It allows the photo to slide from left to right. But for this website, we're going to use a single still image. So that's block. And then once you click block, you want to name the project. And then you can leave the rest of the settings the same and just click create. Now what you'll see is it says add slide. You want to click on that. And then it asks you whether you want to add an image, post, static overlay. You just want to use image, so you'll click that next. And then I already uploaded all the images I would be using. You may need to upload the image you want to use here. Okay, so this is a quick interlude to talk about website photos. So the first thing to know is that any image you use on the website, the way it's displayed should match the true size of the image. So if the image is going to show up on your website as 800 pixels wide, it should be 800 pixels wide before it's uploaded. If you upload something that is 5,000 pixels wide and then shrink it to 800, that's going to inherently slow down your site because it's having to load that full-size image and then shrink it. And on the other side of that, if you're using something that is 300 pixels wide and it's 800 on the site, it will stretch that image, but it will become pixelated and distorted, and it will look bad. So you need to make sure that it is large enough to be used and then sized appropriately for the website. The next thing to keep in mind is aspect ratio. There are some images that no matter how hard you try, you can't make them fit the aspect ratio you need without cutting off too much of the image. So you need to source appropriate images. So for the image we're about to use for the hero section, you need it to be 16 by 9 or 21 by 9, which you can see here on this aspect ratio chart. So that way it displays properly. If you use something that is 9 by 16 and then try to use it for this, it'll end up either cutting off 70% of your image, or it will stretch it and look very odd when it's being used. So there are a few places that you can get photos for your website. As professional developers, we have access to multiple different paid libraries, things like Adobe, a few other ones, but there are also free libraries that you can use if you don't feel like paying for licensing. Make sure you are not using images that require licenses without them. It's a very good way to get yourself fined or have the images taken down. They also typically look bad if you're using an unlicensed version. So make sure you use licensed photos. One of the areas we like to use for that is Unsplash. This is a great photo library. All these are free to download. So if you need something like riding bikes, simply type that in up here, and it will load up all the images it has. Okay, and that was the walkthrough of photos for your website. So once you've selected that, you'll click the blue select button down here. And now it's going to show your photo 1 in your project. So you want to hover over that photo and hit edit. What we're going to do here is add a title, a subtitle, a contact button or a call to action button, and a color overlay to make them all readable. So what you want to do is hover over to where it says heading on the right or left hand side here. Once you click on that, it will automatically add a heading center aligned both horizontally and vertically. So all you need to do is edit what it says and the styling of the text. So we'll just call this heading number 1. And then once you've changed the text itself, you can go into style. You can change the font style, the color, the font weight, which is the thickness, the line height, which is the white space on the top and the bottom, text align, decoration of italics underlined. Don't get too carried away with that. That's a common mistake a lot of people make. But for this, we're just going to go ahead and change the size, make this a bit bigger. And once we make that a bit bigger, we're going to go ahead and hit the content button again. Okay, now that we're done here, we want to add a subtitle. To do that, go up to the left and click on where it says text. And it'll do some filler text here, so fill this out with the subtitle you want. We'll go ahead and just use our tagline. And then same thing, go over to style. Probably want to increase the size on this a little bit. Okay. The last thing you want to add is a button. We're going to add a call button. So to do that, go over to the left-hand side here, click on button. Now because I've used this plugin before, what you'll see is it already says contact us. It may just say default or contact for you when you create it. It also may not be the same color. So you want to change a few different things on this button. First, you want to change the label to contact us or contact. You can even use call us. That's really up to you. And then this button is going to be made to be a call out button. So when this is clicked on a cell phone, it automatically pre-dials. So the way to do that is to type in TEL colon and then the phone number, including the area code in this link box. So you'll change the label and the link. Once that's done, click on style and you'll want to select the background color. It may be a default already that you like. It may be that you want to change it. Just make sure when you select the color that it does stand out from the text itself, but that it is not so bright that it gets washed out by the background. So the last thing we need to do here is to put an overlay on this photo. What I mean by that is a opaque, dark color that overlays the photo to help the text to stand out. As you can see right now, the heading and the subtitle, as well as even the button a little bit, kind of fade into this image. So in order to create an overlay, you simply go up to the edge of the photo here and then click on that. You'll know you're on the correct section when it shows the photo to you with a green dot in the middle, like you see here. So now you've selected the primary photo. Once you've selected the primary photo, go ahead and scroll down to where you see overlay. Flip that switch to on. Then go into the color section. What you want to do is go down to a fairly dark gray, and then come over here to this opacity meter and go ahead and scroll this up slowly until you find the right amount of contrast. You don't want to over darken the background, but you do want to make sure the text stands out. That looks good right about there. So once you've selected the overlay and all of this looks good, next thing you want to do is save it. Once it's saved, go up here to the left hand side and click Dashboard. Now you want to go back into your project. Once you're in here, you'll see the short code down here. This is project specific. So you want to copy this short code, including the brackets. Use Control C, but you can always right click. Once you've copied that, go back to the page in the tab that you were working on, and you'll still have the enter your short code box open. Go ahead and paste that in, hit apply. And you now have a hero at the top of your website. As you can see, the space between the heading and the subtitle, as well as the button, are a little bit off. I'm going to make a quick adjustment on that. Feel free to leave it if you're comfortable with it. Way to adjust that is go back into the project. Once you're in here, select the heading, go to Style. Once you're in Style, scroll down until you see Padding. There's this little chain link here. This is suggesting that the padding on all four sides is connected. You want to turn that off by clicking it. Now you'll see you have 4 here. This actually goes in order as top, right, bottom, left, so it circles. So what you want to do is, or in this case what I want to do is I want to make the padding below less, and if I can't do that, I will make the padding below the subtitle more. So I'll show you what I mean by that. I'll click on the third one here, see if it'll let me go negative. So it doesn't appear to let me go negative, so in this case what I'm going to do is the same thing but on the subtitle. So click down to the subtitle, uncheck the link, and then in the padding we select bottom, which remember this is top, right, bottom, so third one, and then I'm going to put in some extra padding. That's not quite enough, so let's try 15, and it looks like 18 is about even. Call it an even 20 though. Okay. So as you can see, this looks a little bit more even than it did before. So now that that's changed, go ahead and save it, and that will automatically update on the page where your short code is. So you can see here, if you refresh the page, oh, hold on, I have not updated, so this is important. Once you make any changes on a page while you're building it, there is a green update button in the bottom left. If you do not click this and you leave the page before you do, it will prompt you like it did me, but if you ignore that, it will delete any progress you've made, so always make sure you're updating as you go. Now that I've updated, I can go ahead and refresh the page. And you can see it's a little more spaced out. So now on with the rest of the build. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a spacer below this area to create some white space before we start adding more content. So to do that, I'm going to click this red plus button, select a single column, go up to the gray plus, click on that, go to spacer, click and drag, and drop it in. Now I have some white space here. Now once you're selected on this, you'll see up here it says space. It's the only setting it has. You can increase this or decrease this. I'm going to move this up to about 80. I'm happy with that. And then from there, I'm going to start building my next piece of content. So the next thing I'm going to do is create a dual column section. So to do that, I'm going to click the red plus again. This time I'm going to select a dual column, left and right. So you can see I have two different plus icons here, one for each column. So the one on the left, I'm going to make an image. So I'm going to click the plus button, go over to image, click, drag, and as you can see, I make sure that it's got that blue line in the one I want to drop it in. Drop in my image. I'm going to go over to the right here, click on the plus button. First thing I'm going to put in is a title, or in this case a heading. Drag that in. Now, what you'll see here is there is no more gray plus in either one of these boxes, but I still need to add content to this right box. This is a design issue by Elementor, so the easiest way around this is to simply go below, click on the red plus, add a single column again. It's going to give you an extra plus that you can work with while you're designing this section. So I'm going to use this one to add more content. So I'll click on the gray plus, go over to text editor, and drop that in directly below my heading here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and edit my photo first. So I click on the photo, it says choose image, hover over that, select it. Again, you may need to upload an individual photo, or you may have done it all at once, same way I did. So in this case, I'm going to use this ATV image, insert media. It's the button I click, and as you see, it shows up here. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this title. So I'm going to make all the titles on this website the same color for consistency whenever I can, and all of the paragraph text, which is the smaller text, the same color as well. So the color I'm going to use for all my title text is going to be a dark gray. So the way to change that is to click on the title, come over, you can obviously change the actual title itself right here. Let's call this kind of making a Parks and Recreation website for this example. So let's have fun outside is what I'm going to call it. Go over to style. As you can see, it says text color. Go ahead and click on that color here. Now you can just do it by manually moving this around. I happen to know the codes which I'll be using. You can use them as well. This one is the number 17 three times in a row after the hashtag. You'll see it's a kind of a dark gray or a black. And then I'll go over to the paragraph text, which I also click on. You can type in your paragraph text here. I'm just going to use filler text to make it the appropriate size. Obviously, take your time with any copy you put on your website. Spelling errors, things like that are things you really want to make sure you check for. No matter how well built a website is, if there's a lot of spelling or grammatical errors, your clients won't take it seriously. So once you've written the copy out, go over to Style, click on Text Color again, and in this case, I'm going to use 20 three times, which is a little bit of a lighter gray. Okay, so now we have this section built, photo, title, and some copy next to it. So next thing we're going to do is to add another section. This one is going to be a 3-column section. So I'm going to click on the plus sign here, and I'm going to add another spacer in to create some distance between the two. I'm going to go ahead and leave this one at 50. And then for the actual content, go down to the red plus, select that, now select 3 columns. See the 3 pluses here? So these are going to each have a title, a photo, and copy. So I'm going to need to do what I did before, which is to create an extra plus button below it for when these run out. So the first thing I'll do is create that extra plus, then go up to the far left one here, click on that. The first one I'm going to put in is the header. Next one I'm going to put in is the image. Next one is the text. I'm going to repeat that for the next 2. Header, image, text. Okay, now that I've got these all three laid out, let's go ahead and change the color and the text here. Actually, we'll start with the photos. I don't actually remember the photos here, and to title them, I need to see them. So I'm going to go ahead and add the photos in. Okay, add my next one. Okay, and last one. All right, so we'll start by changing the text. Now again, this is obviously just an example. You can add any photos or text you like here. It's really just the design format. Oh, okay. Now once I have those all changed, I'm going to go ahead and change the color on them. Like I said, I'm going to keep consistency among the titles. So I'll use 17 three times. And consistency in the copy, use 23 times. These details seem small during the design process, but I assure you when you're done, it will be the difference between a site that you can tell is made by an amateur versus a site that looks very much like it was professionally made. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add another spacer in below this. So we're going to click on the red plus, single column, gray plus, spacer, drag and drop it in. I'm going to leave it at the default height. Then I'm going to add in a new section. This one's going to be a single column. Let's go ahead and add that in. Oh, I'm sorry, it's actually going to be a dual column. So we'll do that again. Add in a dual column. And what we need to do first is come up here to the Edit Section button, these 6 dots. When you click on that, you'll see it says Content Width. There's 2 different types. There is boxed and full width. Boxed is what you see here and here, where there's a lot of space between the left and the right side of the page. Full width extends all the way to both sides. So we want to turn this one into a full width section. Once we've done that, we want to go over to Style, and go to Background Type. Click on this paintbrush here for Classic. Then we're going to want to adjust the color. So we'll click on the color here, and then I have a pre-selected color. Feel free to use whatever one you like. Now once you have the color selected, go over to the Advanced section. We're going to add some padding on the top and the bottom. So to do that, you need to uncheck the link. We're going to go ahead and start with 80 on the top and 80 on the bottom. Now that we've got that done, I'm going to go ahead and click on the left-hand side first. This is going to be a title, copy, and some contact buttons. First thing we'll add in is the title. And then we will add the copy. And then finally, we are going to add the contact buttons. But the trick is, here is one of the few times we're going to need to use this intersection. This is going to allow us to use 2 buttons side by side. So drag that one over. Now this will allow us to create 2 buttons as opposed to just 2 stacked. This will allow us to do 2 horizontally. So to create those, we'll click on the plus button. And this time we're going to drag in a button. Do that for each one. Okay. And then on the right hand side here, we're going to put in a contact form. And then we're going to come back and edit each piece of this. So before we put a contact form in, we're going to need to create that form. So to create that form, we're going to use one of the plugins we installed earlier. So go to the other tab up here, go to your other right-hand tab. I'm still inside the Smart Slider, so I'm going to work my way out of it. And what you're looking for is on the WordPress dashboard for WP Forms. You're going to hover over that and then click on All Forms. Now, you're not going to have any in there, so you should see this menu, and up at the top left, you'll have Add New. You'll click on that. This is going to ask you which template you want to use. You can go ahead and bypass this step. So there's multiple different templates here. You can create one from scratch. You can use simple contact forms. I suggest using a simple contact form. Go ahead and hover over it and click Use Template. You can go ahead and close this down in the bottom right if you see it as well. And then once you've got the template up, you'll want to name your form specific to where it is on your website, just in case you use more than one form. So click on the name, and we'll call this Home Page Contact Form. And then what you want to do is go into the notification section, and you'll see email subject line. You'll also want to change this to Home Page Contact Form. So you can leave most of this. Okay, and then what you want to do is go back over and click where it says Fields. Okay, there's just one more edit we need to make here to each one of these sections. We need to make the name and the email section full length. So to do that, you're going to click on the section. So what you're going to want to do is go over to Advanced, and then where it says field size, switch that to large, and do the same down here on email. Advanced, field size, large. Now that you've got that done, go ahead and click the Save button. Now that that's saved, you can hit the X up here. Go back to the page you're building. We'll click on the gray plus on the right-hand side column. What we're looking for is WP Forms. Go ahead and drag and drop that in. And it's going to ask you to select the form you want to use. Once selected, it's going to go ahead and populate it right there. Okay, next thing we're going to want to do is to make some adjustments here. So the first one that we're going to make is come back up to the primary edit box on the full size that we did here. Click these 6 dots and change this back from full width to boxed now that we have it laid out. And then we're going to make adjustments to the color and size on both the buttons and the text here. So we can't keep this black like we've done with the rest of the titles because of the background color. So we're going to change this over to a white color. Go ahead and change the text here. Again, keep in mind this is simply example text. You can put whatever you like here. Okay, change the color. Alright, and now on to the buttons. So we'll edit those by clicking the edit icon here, little pencil in the top right. Now each of these has a link in them. Again, just like we did at the top, you can choose what this link does. So I'm going to make one of these buttons an email button and the other one a text button. So I'm going to walk you through the first one here. Change this over to email. The way to create an email button is to do mail to, no spaces, colon, and then the email address in question. Okay. Now we're going to change the color. Just like before, I do have a color pre-selected, but you can use anything you like here. Now, as you can see, when I change the color of the button, it makes it hard to read the text inside. So you'll want to edit that as well. Always make sure that the colors contrast enough that you can actually see them. So what I like to do is typically to use the same color as the background for the text. And then lastly here, I'm going to change the size of the button. I'll make it a bit wider. The way to do that is under Style. You'll see padding at the bottom here. Padding is going to be the amount of space between the text and the outside border of the button. So first thing you want to do is uncheck the link, and then you can do this one at a time. Kind of feel this out as you're going. I'm going to do 10 on the top and the bottom, and then let's start with 50 on the left and the right. That's still a little short for me, so I'll make this 65. Changed the wrong one. Okay, so I'm happy with the way this looks. So now we're going to go over here to this one. I'll copy over my colors. Same thing. We're going to change the text. This one's going to be a text message button. Then we're going to set up the link. Now, setting up a text message button is a little bit more in depth than the other two. There is a simple and a more complex way to do this. I'm just going to go ahead and show you the simple way. Okay, so the way that you're going to do that is SMS colon 2 forward slashes, a plus, and then the phone number. Okay, now we're going to change the color just like we did on the other button. And just in case this is too small for you to see, the color I'm using for the background, that yellow, is color code FFDF00, and the color code for the text is 003A68. Last thing we need to do is to adjust the padding, just like we did the other one. So we'll uncheck the link, put the top and the bottom at 10, and left and right at 65. Okay, now we have our buttons set up. We've got the title, the copy, and the form. The last thing I want to do here is to create some space between these two sections. They look a little crowded to me. So I'm going to go ahead and put some margin in on the right of this column and on the left of this one. So the way to do that is to click this box up here in the top left to edit the primary box. Once it's clicked, go over to Advance, uncheck the link on margin, and then for this one we're going to use right. I'm going to go ahead and start with 30, try that out. And for this one, same steps, uncheck, but this one obviously is going to be left. That's a little more than I wanted, so I'm going to switch these both to 15. Okay. And then the last thing we're going to do on this page is to set up an About section. This will be the last thing before the footer here. So we're going to start by clicking the red plus. This is also going to be a dual column, so we'll select that. And then you're going to need to add a spacer between the top blue section here and the dual column. So I actually should have done that first. We'll go ahead and add that now. So select single column. And you can always drag these columns around. So if they're in the incorrect order, as these ones are right here, all you need to do is click on the 6 dots, hold it, bring it above it, and drop it there. And now we can add our spacer in. I'm going to add a little bit more space. I'll make this 80. And now we'll go ahead and start adding the content. So we're going to keep it the same as far as 2 columns, but we're going to swap the layout here. So instead of the text being on the left, we're going to make it on the right. So the first thing we're going to put in is a title on the left. And then a photo beneath that. And beneath the photo, I'm going to put some copy in. And then on the right here, we're going to go ahead and put 2 things. One of them is going to be just for style, the other one will be copy. So we'll start with the style one. So what we're going to do is select a divider here. Not a spacer, but a divider. Once that's in, you're going to see this black border appear. So if you look up in the upper left-hand corner here, you can see there's a way to style this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an element to it, and I'm going to increase the thickness. So there's a couple elements you can add. You can add text, and you can also add an icon. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. So we're going to do an icon on this one. Once you select icon, if you hover over this blank space, it's going to have 2 options. Upload SVG. If you're familiar with SVGs, you can try to upload your own icon. Typically, though, it's easier just to use the library. So go ahead and click on Icon Library. It's important to remember with things like this, it doesn't have to match exactly what you're talking about. This is really just for style, so something that's abstract can be used in its place. It's really up to you, the look you're going for. It just helps to break up the page a little bit so it doesn't look like a run-on sentence. We could use something like this. Same effect. It's mostly just for style. So what we're going to do next is increase the thickness of this here, of the actual border itself. So to do that, you're going to want to click on the style section, and then on weight here, I want to bring that up to 2. As you can see, it thickens up that border. And then the color, I'm going to have that match the copy color, which is 23 times. Then we can also change the icon color. I'm going to make that the same dark blue as we used up here. Again, these are the small details that make a page stand out. Okay, and now that we have that in there, I'm going to add the copy below it. So we need to add an extra plus sign down here to work with. So we're going to move in some text underneath it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and change this heading. Now obviously you could put about and then the company name. I'm putting about the company as this is an example. Keep this to the format of 17 3 times. Going to have this be just a little caption here. Now I'm going to center align and increase the text size on it. So to align that, the alignment options are up here. I'm going to pick center. And then to increase the text size, I need to go to typography, which is right here under style, and then click the edit button, which is the pencil. And then you'll see these are all the options for the text. So I can increase size right here by simply clicking the up arrow until I'm comfortable with the size. I think there is good. And I'm actually going to increase the boldness as well, which is technically called weight. So I'm going to move that from 400, which is default, up to 6. And now I'm going to add my photo in by clicking on the photo, choose image. Okay. Need to change the color of this text as well. Okay. So that is it for the first page. We're going to do a quick review to make sure there's nothing we're missing. Got our menu, got the logo, tagline, the heading, this content here. We've got the buttons working down here as well as a functioning form. Well, it looks like everything's where I want it to be. So now that I'm ready, I'm going to hit the update button. Now this next part is very important, and you are more than welcome to do this more often than I did, especially if you are not very comfortable with this yet, and that is I'm going to back up the website now that I've got some work done. If you take this in pieces, back up as you go. Anytime before you stop working on a project, always make sure to run a backup. There are ways to accidentally break something, and if you break the page after a few hours of work, you may have to start from scratch if you don't do this. But since I'm more comfortable with it, I'm going to go ahead and just run it now that I'm done. So the way I'll do that is by coming up here to one of my extra tabs that I'm not using. I need to refresh the tab because this has not been refreshed since I started building, so none of the plugins are showing. So I'll refresh it, and then you'll see the updraft shows back up in my top bar here. So I'm going to hover over that and click Backup and Restore. And if you remember, we set up the automatic settings, but I'm going to run a hard copy backup. So to do that, I'm going to come over here to Backup Now. Make sure these two are checked, include your files, include your database. You don't need to check the other two. And then once these are checked, hit Backup Now. You'll see it's going to start running. All right, and it's finished. And you'll see right here, we've got our new backup. So no matter what happens moving forward, we can always come right back to this point. All right, now we're ready to look at what the page looks like on the front end of the site for end users. Before we do that, there's one last setting we need to change. We need to assign that page we just built to the home page of the website. In order to do that, we need to go into the settings over here on the left-hand side, and then go down to reading. Once you click on reading, it's going to pull up your home page displays. It's going to be two different bullet points here. The first one says your latest posts. Next one says a static page. You want to switch to static page. And then it's going to ask you for a drop down on home page and posts page. The post page refers to a blog page, which currently we have not built, so we can leave that alone. The home page, however, is going to be your landing page. So when someone types in the URL of your website, this is the page they'll land on. So you want to select that and drop down to home, and then hit save changes. Now that you've saved that, we can go out and look at the page itself. Now what you'll see is when we come back here, we'll go ahead and refresh it, and we're on the home page. What you'll also be able to tell now is when you click home on your menu, it will always bring you to this page. So let's go ahead and review. And it looks good. Okay, and that concludes our video on how to build a WordPress website using Elementor. If you've made it to this point in the video, that means you are capable of building the other pages on the website on your own. Obviously, there are plenty of different functionality pieces we didn't touch on and endless design options for you to choose from. It's good to take inspiration from other websites you like, maybe take a look at those to figure out other layout patterns you may want to use for those pages. If you do have any questions or would like some one-on-one coaching, that is obviously a service we offer. Feel free to give us a call or send us an email with any questions like that. Thank you so much for your time watching the video, and best of luck.